Good morning, everybody, and we are live with a very special guest today, Václav Vonášek, who is the contrabassoonist of the Berlin Philharmonic. And I'm really excited to share my memories with Václav, that's what we call him. And Václav is just a dear friend of mine. He was my tour buddy. So we are going to see if we can find Václav in our list of friends today. And let's see. Do we have Václav in the audience here? I'm sure we do. So, hey, John. How's it going? Great to see you. A couple of hellos to everybody. We've got Issaquah Trumpist and 8140. We've got vegan joined. That's a really awesome name. Let's see. So yeah, today what I really want to feature is just the fact that we have auxiliary instruments in the orchestra. And I didn't really know that there were specialists in auxiliary instruments before. I just thought bassoon players could just pick up the contrabassoon and just, interchangeably play the contrabassoon. But really to get a fantastic contrabassoon player like Václav, it's just interesting to see how they've really dedicated themselves to that particular instrument. So let's see if we can find Václav. So we have Nobi Hornist, and I don't think that is Václav here. So let's see. In any event, does anyone have any questions that they would like to know about the Berlin Philharmonic? There we go. Vonášek. Okay. Or, let's see. Vonášek. Unable to join. So, Václav, hey, you might be on your iPad or on your computer. And in those cases, it's not yet possible to join our live chat unless you're on your cell phone. So sometimes these live chats, they just take a little bit of practice for us to get used to. But what I'd love to do is get some questions from the audience. I know I have a few for Václav, just about what his journey to the Berlin Phil was like, and also what it's like to play the contrabassoon. So Václav says, give me a minute. So we can just talk a little bit about some of the memories that I have with him. Václav is one of the kindest people I know, and he's also just unbelievably just a great person. We used to go hiking on tour, and we went for this amazing hike in Japan. And one of the tours to Asia, or the tour to Asia that I did with the Berlin Philharmonic in 2017, we went just up this mountain near Tokyo, and he kind of planned it out. Mount Takao. Yes, thank you, Václav. And it was probably one of the most memorable parts of my whole tour. It was just being outside. The colors were just starting to change. And he kind of helped just break up the stress of okay, I'm new, in a new orchestra, new role, really, and it just felt like having a friend, was such a important part of being new in an orchestra and also new in a new country. So he's just a fantastic tour buddy, and I think that's important for everybody, is to have someone that they can go on tours with, but also have someone that they can mentor them on the way. And Václav read this poem to me, and I'll read it to you guys while we wait. It really summed up a lot of things, but this is a poem by Rudyard Kipling. And this is one of our favorites. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it in one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again on your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after you are gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. This poem is really special. It's called If, and every time I think of it, I always think of Václav. It's just one of those things that shared with me when I was in Berlin, and it just meant so much to me to have a friend who knew that poem. He didn't, English wasn't his first language, of course, but he shared this poem with me, and it's ever since. Hey, Václav, there he is. Hey.
I need to. Well, sorry, I need to swap the.
There he is.
This is the front camera. Let me do it. Oh, ha!
Hey, man. How are
There
you?
you are. I'm fine. I'm sorry.
Trying to read the poem "If" by Rudyard Kipling.
I heard everything. I loved.
Every time I read that poem,
loved your reciting or I loved your interpretation.
Oh man, I have to say that that poem is forever embedded in me in that time when I was newly on trial with the Berlin Philharmonic, and for me that was a lot. It's a lot of stress moving to a new country, playing a new horn, being in like one of these orchestras like the Berlin Philharmonic that just tours and plays at such a high level, and that poem kind of really helped me get through that time period. Hey, Václav,
hiking with you.
A lag.
I was. Sorry, can you hear me?
It's a little bit laggy.
Well,
it's a little bit choppy. Would you happen to?
Yeah.
Could we do the cell phone service?
Yes, actually, I'm going to change the room. Before I go downstairs. Before I go downstairs, I need to show you of my Contrabassoon muse here. Can you see her?
No. What is that a?
It's a wooden It's a wooden carving, and it's actually it's a muse. It's
oh my gosh! But it looks like it has a carving of a contrabassoon.
Of course,
hey,
yes, it's a contrabassoon muse.
Hey, wherever you are now, the connection's perfect. Like right where you are.
I just stood up.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. The connection's great.
Okay, so it's working better.
Oh man, it's so good.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and could you just tell us, what is it like to play with the Berlin Philharmonic? I mean, I know, but maybe you have a different kind of experience with that.
It's been 4 years, or wait a minute, how long I'm here? Since 2015 or 16. Actually, I started in March, beginning of March 2016. It's been 4 years. Yeah, but the story goes much farther. Well, much farther. It was the end of. Sorry. Good much. Now I'm really close. I'm at the source now. So it's going to be. Yeah, my router is over there.
That's perfect.
I'm in our sitting room. So yeah, to play with the Berlin fill. Like 10 years ago, the Berlin fill was just an admirable object or something really impossible to reach. Something you really admire. You listen to recordings, you watch recordings, and you don't really think about like playing with them once. You simply. You think it's no. It's not for you. It's for others. It's for those who grew up in Germany, who studied in Germany, who studied in the orchestra academy, and then perhaps after having served a couple of years in local district orchestra, then like higher level orchestra, you perhaps get the chance of being invited to an audition. And then suddenly it changed one day, almost a summer day. We played with the Czech Philharmonic in Dresden, in this opera house, the Semper Opera. And then I found this Das Orchester magazine, and on the shelf in the dressing room, and suddenly I saw Berlin Philharmonic looking for a contrabassoonist. I said, well, let's accept this challenge. That's were my feelings. Like not I didn't think of like being over humble, or I don't know. Well, I thought the audition is open, so it's open to everyone. And that's how it started, actually. Then I started to practice for the audition. Then, yeah, but let's skip this. But the feeling, like to have the privilege, well, actually, I'm forgetting the feeling now after 2 months of being idle.
Yeah, it's hard for all of us right now. Just not playing, not giving, and not performing.
To be honest, but it's it's almost every time. It's almost like for the first time. It's you never go there. You never go on the stage with a feeling. I know I've been through this 100,000 times. I know the piece. I know. No, it's a challenge every single time. And then when you're down, you even hear this Greta saying to you, "How dare you?" Sometimes perhaps when there's a hard piece or like a bad day on not having slept enough, and then oh my God, what I'm going to do on the stage? It's how dare I? Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because it's such a privilege to play at that level, and it's like if I don't feel good, then it's hard to bring my 100% A game. But you get to the stage, and then you rise that level.
But then you suddenly find yourself on the stage, and then actually the orchestra takes you along.
Yes.
With you. It's like riding in the middle on a bicycle race in the middle of the peloton.
Yeah.
And somehow you just ride along. And what's important, like a good musician has to have good eyes, ears, and heart open.
Yes.
Wow. And then if it's this Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connection with the others.
Wow.
And it's the most important thing, that it's mutual.
Yeah.
It's not that you have to sometimes that you have to rise to their level.
Yeah.
But you need to be like tuned, finely tuned, like a radio.
Wow. I mean, that's such a
On the
great
same frequency.
analogy for like playing with an orchestra like the Berlin Philharmonic. It's chamber music, but you said eyes, ears, and heart open. And I love that because the heart, it just makes me think like, I love this music. I love my colleagues. I'm like, I'm welcome. I'm open-minded. I'm willing to like be a part of this. And then also too, man, like just the way that you said Bluetooth connection. It's like you're wirelessly connected to these others. It's like a school of fish, right? They never bump into each other. Or like a flock of birds.
Yeah.
They don't bump into each other, but they instantly know when one bird turns, the other bird turns with it.
Mostly they don't. If you look in slow motion and more closely, they certainly do touch each other, and there are accidents even there. But they are notably less often. Less often, or
yeah, exactly.
How do you say?
So let's go to the beginning of your journey. Could you talk about how you chose bassoon in the first place, or your first experiences with music?
Well, it goes back to the middle of the 80s, and then actually going to the music school was like normal for like 10 to 15% of the school kids.
Oh wow, 10 to 15% of the music of the kids in the Czech. Are you from Prague originally, or are you from a smaller?
No, I'm from South Bohemia. You can Google it up. The name of the place it's Blatna. It's Blatna.
Blatna. Okay.
Yeah. And there I went to music school, and when I was still like 7 or 8, like 8, 9 years old, I watched with amazement. I watched this marching band marching on the streets, and I just marched along with them because I was really fascinated by it.
Wow.
And then a couple of years later, I was allowed to play along. So,
and what did you play? Did you play bassoon, or did you?
I played clarinet.
Clarinet, okay.
Clarinet because it was in the family somehow. My grandfather played clarinet and saxophone.
We have one of the clarinet players from the Chicago Symphony who's watching, John Ye. And John Ye is one of he's the associate principal clarinet player of the Chicago Symphony, and he's a big fan of the Berlin Philharmonic. But I figured that connection would be a really a nice connection.
So when I was 13, 14 years old, you decide, because you go to high school, which is called a middle school in our country, because actually it's the middle stage, and there's the university is the high level. So then I sort of somehow I let myself convince that perhaps I was not as bad as a clarinetist, because the educational system is really how do you say? You don't see it almost anywhere in the world.
No.
Except these schools, like for extremely talented children, where they stay away from home, and really for really young kids.
So you're basically saying you went to Hogwarts School of Music. You're Harry Potter.
But then the focus really with 14 years, the focus is music and nothing but music.
Wow.
And then actually I haven't had a single math lesson since I was 14.
Wow.
So I'm not really an educated person, or versatile person. I was into the music when I was 14, and actually I was somehow convinced I will be able to make living with music. And so I was so naive, really, that once I graduate from the school, there will be offers coming to me.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that's like what we all think. Like, all right, when I get out of this music conservatory, like the phone's gonna be ringing, like some orchestra is gonna call me, and they're just gonna recruit me out of school, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh.
And then actually, I just skipped how I got to the bassoon because then I played for the exams and didn't obviously make a really good impression as a clarinetist. So then I was offered to become a bassoonist because there is everywhere a lack of bassoonists. And then actually when I found out the day after, I went to the music school and there were no cell phones, nothing. And somehow they had a phone call from this conservatory, my teacher in the music school. And then after my lesson, he went silent, really grave. And then he told me, well, they can't take you as a clarinetist, but they can take you as a bassoonist. And then I didn't hesitate a single second. It was, yes, that's it. That's much cooler. Let's do it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's how it started.
So how did you get you were in the Czech Philharmonic, and how did you go from this like incredible music training to, like specializing at age of 14 where it was just music to the Czech Philharmonic? Was it kind of like the conservatory a recruiting or a training ground for the Czech Phil?
Oh, well, not by far. The conservatory takes 6 years. And then in the final year, I applied for it's like a Hochschule in Germany, or the university in the States. And it's called Academy of Performing Arts in Prague. So I went there after I finished the conservatory. And then there was a short period in the middle of my studies. I spent a year in London, the Royal College of Music.
I remember that, yeah, because that's why you speak with a British accent. You say British words is because you studied in London for a year. Yeah.
British accent, not aware of that.
Just a little bit. Sorry.
Just a little bit. And then I graduated in 2005. And in the same year, I auditioned for the Czech film. And I came second. Actually, I was the runner-up.
Wow.
This audition. But then, thanks to the circumstances, because there came up another vacancy a year later.
Wow.
And according to the regulations, then I got this job without further audition.
Oh my gosh! So because the runner-up,
we were like two new rookies in 2 years, and I was very lucky to get it actually, because if it lasted longer, I would have to audition again, and then who knows? Who knows?
So I mean, the Czech Philharmonic is kind of the dream for everyone in Czech Republic, right? It's like the big orchestra, and when you're in music school, that's like where you want to be, right? Like it's the hugest level in your country.
Yes, but it's not a big country.
Yeah.
But I dare say it's not only in the country, and it always, like, since its existence, it's 125 years old. It's not much younger than the Berlin Philharmonic, like 8 years younger. So it's an orchestra with a really long tradition, really well established in the world. And then actually it's a direct descendant. The players, the colleagues there, are really direct, not descendants like in terms of family, but in terms of profession. Really, what you say, inheritance or
Yeah, they inherited their
or
profession.
or followers the tradition uh, grounded by Dvořák himself.
Wow. So
Actually,
when the Czech
and
Philharmonic plays Dvořák, I bet there's a special connection because he helped like start the Czech Philharmonic, right?
yes, in 1896, conducted the first concert where they premiered a lot of works by him, and the tradition really goes down really from from there.
Wow.
So that's why I really deem this like the interpretation of Czech music, especially by Dvořák, really authentic.
Wow.
You didn't say, I'm really cautious to say better or worse or best or like, but I think it's really the most appropriate interpretation of Dvořák.
It's something about how you hear the melodies, because I feel that music is so connected to language, right? And the language that we speak influences the inflection, right? And it influences the melodies that we sing and the timing. And I think a lot of Dvořák's melodies are perhaps folk melodies, right? If I'm not mistaken. And so those melodies should feel really natural for you. I don't know, maybe, am I mistaken? Is there a connection?
Not at all. And there's of course a strong tradition of make folk music, although we seldom do make folk music at home or in the countryside, but somehow it's in the genes. You can't remove it.
Wow.
And then you approach music really spontaneously, not really scientifically.
Yes.
Not music theoretically. So, and this approach suits Dvořák really well.
Wow.
But it might not suit. You can't play Wagner with this approach, or Strauss. And then actually the danger is you get terribly bored by Wagner, because Dvořák is really straightforward,
Yes.
spontaneous, and it's really enjoyable for most of the time.
Yeah.
And it's even for impatient listeners.
What are your favorite
Right.
Dvořák pieces? I mean, I know you recorded all the symphonies.
Oh yes, it's not all the symphonies. Actually, I wouldn't even rank the symphonies first.
Really?
Yeah. I would start with the Slavonic dances.
Really?
I think this is the style. This is a style Dvořák was a master of, like shorter pieces, like up to 10 minutes, and all these symphonic poems. And there's a lot of earlier shorter pieces
Wow.
which don't get performed really often. But I think those are the hidden treasures
Wow.
of his music. Just listen to the second. I mean the second book or second cycle. How to say? Second part of Slavonic dances.
Okay.
It's more profound. It's more profound, but they are still short pieces, like dances written for pleasure.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And it's pleasure. That's what music should be, right? It's like sometimes I feel as a classical musician, I have to be serious. I have to be like really like, hey, this is what classical music is, and ultimately music is music. It's for pleasure, right? And for sharing.
Actually, I always had a problem with this term. Like normally you say classical music or klassische Musik
Yeah.
in German, But then there's an old-fashioned term, this ernste Musik, like serious music.
Mm.
And it's actually, I think it scares off a lot of potential interested listeners, because serious somehow sounds like not cool enough,
Yeah.
or like boring, or serious, grave, or how
So
do you say so?
tell me about how your journey to Berlin came about. Because, I mean, for me, I would think that you grew up in Czech Republic. You have this amazing opportunity to play and to live near your family. I mean, I guess Europe is small enough that you probably still live close to your family, you know?
Well, yes. In my practice studio in Prague, I had a map of the world by National Geographic, really, really beautiful map. And on this map, the distance between Berlin and Prague is exactly 9 millimeters. So, so yeah, that 9 millimeters, and then compared with most of my colleagues, like perhaps except for those who are like born Berliners,
Yeah.
but even the German cities like Munich or Cologne, they are all more distant than Prague.
Wow. I didn't
So
realize that. You know,
it's like
the Chicago
it's
Symphony has a large Czech ancestry. So Gail Williams talks about when she joined the Chicago Symphony, the entire bass section spoke Czech. And yes, and then we have like some of our godfathers of horn playing here for the Chicago
uh-huh,
Symphony are Czech. So Phil Farkas was the principal horn,
uh-huh.
and also Frank Brauk. And Frank
Oh yeah,
Brauk,
you told me about him.
yeah, I mean, he's just like the legendary guy that everyone talks about. And
Mhm.
you know, he used to always say, like, you know, Frank, how do you get that tone? You know, they used to always say he had the best tone, right? You go, beer and mushrooms, lots of beer, Czech beer and mushrooms. You know, like I don't know. That was like his thing. But could you talk about the Czech horn sound before we end this?
Well, Czech horn sound, I think like the best way to describe is it's closer to the woodwinds
Yes.
than the German sound.
Yes.
Like the Czech horns, they are with the woodwinds, like much more than the German horns.
Wow.
And then, but the German, but it's good for Dvořák. It's wonderful for chamber music, like for a woodwind quintet.
Yeah.
It blends marvelously with the woodwinds. There's nothing worse in the woodwind quintet when the horn, like when the horn blows its own way. then but the German horns are more suitable for other kind of music.
Yeah.
This as a bassoonist, I tend to, well, how to say, not hate, but to have a problem with Bruckner.
Oh.
Because it's beyond boring for us to play.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hey, Christoph S is online. Hey, Christoph. He's one of my friends from
But
the Prague competition in 2007.
yeah, we never met, but I know about you.
Yeah, he's a
And
fantastic
then,
horn player.
but then to listen to Bruckner when I don't have to play, it's much more enjoyable. And to listen to Bruckner played by Berlin Phil,
Yeah.
with this brass section, including the horns, it's unbelievable.
I mean, it's one of those things that, all right, so each orchestra has things that they do well, and I feel like Chicago Symphony really does, like Mahler, they do Brahms really well, Beethoven. I mean, there's many pieces that, but I just think the Brahms 2 that we just did with the Chicago Symphony was one of the highlights of my career, getting to play that with the Chicago Symphony.
I love that.
You know, like Brahms is one of the pieces that does really amazing in the Berlin Philharmonic as well. and also, I mean, I know Bruckner. What other pieces do you really enjoy playing with the Berlin Phil?
Well, it's almost everything. Perhaps
Yeah.
perhaps with a small exception of Dvořák.
Yes.
But then I enjoy it for another reason.
Yes.
You know, I hate sometimes Czech musicians they tend to have their interpretation of Dvořák sort of patented, like patent pending, or well, no one can play this as well as we can do. Well, we are the best musicians, best natural, spontaneous musicians in the world.
Hey, I'll give you that. I'll give you that one.
but you know, but I'm so glad this music gets performed even without Czech conductors and without Czech and like out of Czech orchestras.
Yeah.
Like remember? Oh, you played this Cunning Little Vixen.
Yes.
In Berlin.
Yes.
And there were times that Czech pieces or operas by Janáček, of course, they found their way in like to the big concert halls, but there had to be also like a Czech conductor or important Czech soloists in order to make it happen.
Yeah.
But now you can see here Czech opera by Czech composers performed by the Berlin Phil in Czech language, but by a really completely international cast.
Wow. Yeah.
And that really makes you proud to come from that country as well, sort of.
Wow. Yeah, I can.
And then you're not like I can imagine this much better. This is not authentic. This articulation, the Czech orchestras can play it better. And no, you're just grateful for it to when you hear the music live.
Could you talk a little bit about your journey to the Contrabassoon? Because in the Czech Philharmonic, you were, I believe, second, if I'm not mistaken, or?
Well, I was second with Contra.
Okay, second with Contra.
And in Berlin, I'm Contra with second.
Okay, so you played. Okay.
Well, yeah, so I'm mainly a contrabassoonist. You know what? The way I approached the Contra for the first time was sort of with a feeling of pity, because I thought, well, this is the instrument everyone laughs at. You play this single note in Petrushka, and the whole audience laughs. And then
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but it's just like that's such a funny description of yeah.
And it's actually it's really easy to support this feature of the contrabassoon.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly hard to play the instrument really now I have to use this word in a serious way. Because actually you can play any instrument like this, like
yeah, absolutely. I know, like the horn, especially
you can even play the bassoon like this, and then to really produce nice sounds that they really blend well, that are in tune.
Yeah,
it's really, and then you realize you have to approach it's not like sort of addition to the bassoon, but as completely different instrument.
Yes,
I think I dare say it's much more different to the bassoon than, you know, I'm convinced almost most of the clarinetists can play like E-flat clarinet, bass clarinet, and the basset horn, and without much difficulty.
we have a clarinet player in the audience. Maybe John Ye could could attest.
But I think those instruments, including the
they're a bit
keyboard,
more similar.
they are really much closer to each other. But then with the contra, even the difference, the size difference, it's much bigger. You need to all the time. You need to search for fingerings, for extra fingerings, for quiet playing, extra fingerings for loud playing. But then you know what's really exciting about playing the contra in the Berlin Phil or in an orchestra is that it's actually you start the harmony, because like an arpeggio sound on the piano or on the harp starts from the bottom.
Yes.
And it's not a secret, but this profound sound of the Berlin Philharmonic, it's also partly because it's the bass section that leads.
Yes.
And then the colleagues, they encouraged me. I remember when I was on trial, and then they kept on encouraging me. You must not wait for us. We need to hear you a fraction of a second before we start. And then I realized, yes, it's actually it's an honor to start, because you give the consonant even to the bass section. A double bass starts, but then without much consonant. You know what I mean.
Yes, yeah.
At the beginning of the sound, and then with the contra, you need. If you plant the bass note of the chord, then you are an incredible support to the rest of the orchestra or to your close colleagues.
Wow, man! Thank you for talking about that a little bit. I didn't know that, and it's so interesting to hear that perspective for me of what your role is. You know, I think oftentimes we do hear the Contrabassoon and just kind of like laugh a little bit because it's a funny low sound, but when you play, it's truly beautiful. And thank you for talking about that. Could you talk about some of your favorite pieces to play as a contra, like when you play the contra?
Well, of course it's the pieces where I have something to do when I don't get bored. And then of course it's Mahler.
Yes.
It's Mahler, like any symphony. Perhaps, I don't know, any piece by Mahler, the list, even these songs and Lied von der Erde, almost anything by Mahler. His music is almost a religion to me.
Wow. Yeah.
Then, of course, it's Shostakovich.
Yeah.
His contraparts are sometimes even more interesting than the bassoon. But no, I'm kidding. Bassoon parts, of course, legendary. But to play contra in the Shostakovich symphony, you never get bored. You always get your enjoyable bits, but then you have to be flexible. That's perhaps the most annoying thing. Of course, it's enjoyable to play contra. Actually, what I say is to walk onto the stage with no neck strap, without any strap. We use this like neck strap or harness or seat strap, and if you play contra, you don't need any of those.
Wow.
So it's more you're freer because you're not tied to the instrument somehow.
Yeah. Wow.
But then quite often you need to, of course, play both in one part, contra and bassoon, you need to care about contra reeds, bassoon reeds,
Yes.
and to somehow it's not like changing between flute and piccolo.
Yeah.
So, because the other
Well,
the
well,
latter
John
one
Ye says
the
here.
latter fits in your breast pocket.
John Ye says it's the same for clarinets except E flat and bass. He said E flat and
Yeah.
bass and basset horns are all very individual. Interesting to hear about the contrabassoon. And he says, let's do a duet for contra bass clarinet and contrabassoon. So someday
You know,
it
contrabass.
started here.
But I was, of course, contrabassoon consumes much more air than the bassoon.
Yes.
But then once I remember in the Czech field there was a contrabass clarinet and then the colleague complained, "Oh my, it's eats, and I can't breathe. I don't have any air." And then, wait a minute, can I have a try on this? And then I tried to blow a single note on the instrument, on the contrabass clarinet, and that all my air was gone. All my breath. I don't know, how can you play a single bar on this thing?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Could you
And
talk
you're empty.
about the Heckle phone? For those of you that don't know, it's in. And then there's another question. Have you ever tried the Contraforte made by Guntram Wolf Benedict Eppelsheim? I don't.
Well, I never tried it. I read lots about it. I heard a lot about it. Well, I don't know.
What are those? Just for us, are they're relatives? The
Yeah,
Contraforte.
those are like modern, super high tech contrabassoons.
Okay, Contraforte.
And contraforte.
And why would you use one?
Well, it can be used. It can replace the regular contrabassoon.
Huh.
And then most of the problems connected with the contrabassoon, like looking for fingerings, these uneven registers, or you need to like stretch your fingers much more on the contra than on the bassoon, and like water in the vocal, or I don't know. All these old-fashioned issues, they are gone with the contraforte.
Huh.
But it sounds like almost like a woodwind tuba. Like a tuba, but more flexible. But then the disadvantage, as far as I heard from my colleague, from Marcus, my colleague, he tried
Yes.
it once, more times in the orchestra. That what I've heard, it doesn't blend the sound doesn't blend as easily, as well as the old-fashioned contrabassoon.
Okay. Yeah.
And then in order to use the advantage, all these features, you need to use a much larger reed for the thing.
Okay. Oh wow.
Like not much larger, but notably larger.
Uh-huh.
And then when you have to change between bassoon and contraforte, it makes the difference even huger.
Okay. Huh.
And then, of course, you can play it even with an ordinary contrabassoon reed, but then you lose like the growth of the sound, or
Yes.
I don't know what.
So they're compromising,
But,
trying to, with everything, right? If we try to make a horn better, like, so a lot of times, the horn started off as a horn without valves, right? And then to make it better, they added valves. And then to make it better, they added another horn. So we have double horns. And then to make that better, they added a triple horn, right? And so every time we add a horn or something, we have compromises and we lose something of the character, something of the,
yeah. So, but you should Google this thing up. Like contraforte looks like like a spaceship, or
it's got a pull engine. It's like one of those motors you have to pull on to start.
Yeah, but the bell is like you can like put your arm like down the bell. It looks like, and then you hold the hands, the fingers, incredibly close to each other.
Oh,
It's like, and what I've heard, the fingerings, they work like on the saxophone. So yeah, perhaps I'll come to it one day, but I'm happy with my Contra. You know what? When I started with the Berlin Phil, when I joined the Berlin Phil, I had the privilege to start on a brand new Contra,
really?
which really had been ordered 8 years before then. And then I was lucky to come to join the orchestra exactly like 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, after the new instrument came. After
Wow. So basically, you and your instrument joined the orchestra at the same time.
yes,
Wow. Do
yes,
you
and
is
then
that specifically your instrument, or do you share that with Marcus?
of course I share it with
Oh,
Marcus,
okay.
but then I'm the sort of solo contrabassoonist.
Yeah.
So if I'm on the stage, I usually play the contrabassoon.
Yes. Well, I was wondering, could you talk about your just the joys of being with such a great section? You have some of the nicest guys in the whole world in your bassoon section. I mean, Daniele, you've got Stefan, you've got Marcus, you've got yeah, the whole gang, man. More. Yeah, it's just I mean the bassoon section and I just really got along fabulously, and you know I went jogging with Stefan Schweikert around the palace of Berlin and or no sorry Tokyo.
In Seoul,
Excuse me.
in Seoul and Tokyo, you were,
Yeah.
and then you texted me, I'm running late. Stefan got lost.
There's a really funny story about that, but I'll tell you after. So yeah, no, we were planning to go swimming, and I'll just tell it now. It's not really that embarrassing, but we were planning to go swimming, and the swimming pool was charging, you know, like I don't know, $35 or $40 just to use it for one day. So we decided to switch to running. So that's why we decided to, you know, run, and that's why we were late. So.
Yeah, so you know what I love about the section, that they are so different from each other. Well, when I joined them, I was really afraid that I am different. I come from a different country. I didn't study with certain teachers, and then I'm not going to fit well enough. But then I realized actually it was more who told me. But no, we are not. What are you talking about? Like play like us. We don't play like the other one. We are different, but we still fit together. Sort of, and actually, it's also you can see this with the whole orchestra. Using at auditions, you seldom hear. We are used to a certain horn or bassoon or trumpets or clarinet sound, and this is not what I'm used to, and therefore I'm afraid to have like to play with him. They rather, if there's someone even with no orchestral experience, they can somehow see, but he is a contribution to the orchestra.
Yeah.
He is an inspiration for us.
Wow.
And actually we let, it's not that he fits to he or she fits to us, our imagination of sound, but he can also enhance he can be a contribution to the whole orchestra. Not that we have this sound tradition, and who doesn't fit in, it's not good enough for us, but we let we let inspire ourselves.
Wow.
So, and it's all, every lineup, with the section, it's a bit different.
I mean,
Like
there are what, 28 nationalities, 28 different nationalities, and it's, I think, like less than 50% German in the orchestra. 23 or 20.
I thought it's less than 50%, but I never counted it like that.
Yeah, no, I
So
think it's less than
20.
half German makeup, and then I think there are 23 or 28 nations represented in the orchestra. I could be wrong, but it's really a unique orchestra.
But I can't imagine anyone caring about this.
Yeah.
Like about nationalities. Perhaps, I've become too global or too.
No, and that's the thing, that when we hear that, right? We hear that like everyone's represented, and we hear that it doesn't matter where you're from. Music is the international language, and I think that's one of the things about the Berlin Philharmonic that makes it so special. Is it's a world orchestra, and I feel like it is kind of the world's orchestra, like by being on like the digital concert hall and having everyone watch them like week in, week out. We feel like we know you. We're like, oh, there's Václav again, and it's so great, man. Real quick before we leave, we're gonna get cut off at the hour. It's been so nice talking to you, but could you just tell us a couple of the? It's 57 after. Yeah.
Oh.
Time flies when we talk, man. I just get lost in your stories, and you're just such a I don't know.
Yeah, we can talk on privately afterwards. Don't worry.
Just so great to hear your voice, and like man, you're so descriptive with everything you say. It's just like your vocabulary is so well thought out, and it's really a pleasure to listen to you. But I just wanted to ask you, what have you been doing since this time of stay at home, since the Corona pandemic started?
Well, I hardly get bored because we've got two small kids. Well, up to what age? It's a small kid. Well, one is
up till teenager.
Well, he's 11.
Yeah.
The younger one is 7, and then getting them to work, getting them to their homework, and make them finish them, keeping them concentrated. That's the biggest challenge of these days.
Yeah.
Of course, I do some practice, but then, for example, my son is sort of project in the how you call this subject? It's Naturwissenschaften, so like natural science.
Natural science, yeah.
Nature science, like it's about a project, sort of. It's called a lab book. Lab book.
Yeah.
Do call it like in English also, because they call it like this in German. Also in Czech we are doing a lab book. And then actually in one moment I realized it's me doing the whole thing, and it's me like getting stressed, and now it's finished. It's finished, the thing is finished, and we're going to sort of to submit to tomorrow, and I feel like it's 9 years ago when I finished my PhD thesis. Perhaps it was less stressful then.
Oh man, but you've also been recording some videos, and I really enjoyed the quadlibet.
Yeah, the last one was quadlibet from the Goldberg variation.
Yeah, it's just amazing, man. Like you recorded Bach, and your little daughter's playing the recorder. Your son has a little tiny bassoon. You're playing the bassoon. Your wife is a fantastic violinist, and I just love seeing your family play together. So we can catch those on your YouTube channel.
There'll be a last one coming in a week.
I can't wait, man. It's been so great seeing you. I miss you a ton. Thank
David,
you for being here.
I do hope to see you in the autumn or in the fall.
Yes.
It's, I don't know what happens to this US tour in November. Is it November?
In November 15th, we're supposed to be here in Chicago, and I can't wait.
We should be in where? I do. I keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, we do too. Hey, I love you, man. I'll talk
Hopefully.
to you later, okay? Thank you all.
Bye bye,
Have a
David. Thank
wonderful
you so
day.
much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.